Hello guys and gals, my name is Eclepid and welcome back to my playthrough of the letter, and we're on the good run again. And we're on chapter 3, Zach's chapter. So, when we last left off, Hannah did not die, she was not possessed, instead Hannah ended up living. She and Luke were able to work through some of their differences and fight for a better future. Isabella in chapter 1 also is still alive. She did not get hit by a car, nor did she die by being torn apart. So, as you could imagine, things are going to be quite different from the Death Run playlist that I did, because Isabella's alive. So, Zach's route, where he discovers Isabella dead, that's not going to happen. So there's going to be a lot of new text during this episode of the Good Run. So just look forward for that. It's going to be a lot of reading. Let's get started. And we will skip through some of the stuff that we've already seen in the Death Run. Alright, so this is actually the first new scene that we're at, because Isabella's alive. It's the scene where, in the Death Run, Zach's having a nightmare, but in this run, Isabella comes in. Basically, she knocks on his door and is freaking out. Zach's wondering what is happening, but Isabella walks in and is acting very, very scared. Whatever her reasons for showing up here at such an hour doesn't matter. I'll be damned if I just turn her away, frazzled as she is. The door clicks shut behind her when she finally enters, feet scuffling softly against the tiled floor. In all the years I've known her, she has never once lost her ever upbeat spirit. Yet in this particular moment, as she stands in my doorway, holding her arms close to herself, it's as if I'm looking at someone completely withdrawn from the person I've come to know all these years.
Do you want to drink or eat anything? I haven't restocked my food stash yet, so ingredients may be a bit limited. But I'm sure I can whip something up with what I have here.
Just water will do, please. Thanks, Zach.
What? No additional food? That's new. I'll put something together for you anyway. Hey, feel free to make yourself at home. You ain't exactly a new visitor here. Although my room's not at its most presentable right now. Sorry. New freelance gigs and such. Didn't have time to fix things up here lately.
It's okay. I don't mind.
Usually she'd have something more to say about that. A quip, a witty remark to provoke a laughter or two. Nothing from her this time. Only a weak smile before she takes a seat on the couch in a silence that stretches out until what we have left hanging feels disconnecting. Before everything turns stifling and awkward, I continue talking, if only to keep the dead air at bay. How's one supposed to keep conversation going when the person you're talking to is like this?
Anyway, gigs. Can you believe this one client we got? Boss had all my schedule shoots shifted after they caught wind of this couple buying a new property. Man, must be nice to have all the money in the world. The world itself moves for you, huh?
She's curled up on one side of the couch and hugging her knees close when I bring the tray carrying the sandwiches and the water she requested. She starts to straighten up as I'm unloading the contents, but pauses as soon as I hold up my hand in a halting gesture.
You're a guest. Didn't I say you're free to make yourself at home? Here's your water. Careful.
The tremor in her hands, though lighter now, still hasn't subsided when she reaches out for the glass. I give her a questioning look, but she is quick to avert her eyes, keeping herself occupied by taking small gulps of water. Or maybe she just doesn't want me asking questions. Worrying. This sudden loss for words, this bout of quiet not normally present in our chats, and even the creaking of the old chair when I casually take the seat is a welcome break. Although the company's familiar, this has gone way past unnerving.
What happened? Overtime at work?
She doesn't answer immediately. Another gulp drains her glass of its remaining contents. One would think it would be enough to help her recover, yet she doesn't lose her taut grip on the glass as she cradles it on her lap. Her eyes take an unfocused gaze when she speaks again.
Yeah, boss handed me extra work today. After what happened to Rose.
Rose. Why do I feel like you've mentioned her before? Sorry, I'm better with remembering faces than names.
She was my coworker. That will take some getting used to. I was just talking to her the other day.
Was? Did she resign or something? I think I'm missing a few details here, Bella.
You've never met her. I think I did mention her once, or twice. It doesn't matter. You probably heard her name recently from the news than me.
Isabella looks like a squirrel. Something clicks then. A little memory from the night before. The bright red light from the dark room, the strong odor of the stop bath, the television's barely audible murmur in the background, and a glimpse of a bloody room. The news is everywhere, even in the morning that follows. I just didn't think its effects will strike someone this close to me.
Damn. I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, like I said, it'll take some getting used to, but it'll get better. I hope it will. Things might become a little busier for me, though. She left a lot of things unfinished. And I'm one of the few people in the office who knows how she works. Boss thinks the transition will be easier if I handle it.
That explains it. Well, just don't forget you still need rest. Even the most hard-working people I know don't keep hours as late as this. Hell, the subway stopped running hours ago. Crime rate might be lower here than most places, but that doesn't mean you can walk around freely in the middle of the night.
It's just for today.
Still a good thing you dropped by here first. I'm not just about to let you walk out here alone, especially not in the middle of the night. Who knows what else could happen? I'm not saying you should go right now, but I could accompany you home if you...
No! Wait, please!
The vehement tension in her voice makes me pause, and it is in this instant the mask she's been keeping up falls apart, if only for a short while. Right then and there I understood what hiding behind her unfocused stare from the moment she arrived. Fear. Pure, unadulterated fear. It's disturbing to see such marring her usual upbeat countenance. With a sigh, I cross the small distance separating us and kneel in front of her. She doesn't flinch when I do so. However, the way she appears to make herself smaller against the couch is telling enough.
This ain't just about your coworker, is it? What is it really about? I'm all ears.
The sound of glass shattering rents through the air as soon as her hold on it loosens. In the span of a few seconds, her breathing goes labored.
I don't know anymore.
She claps her hand over her ears, pressing it tightly against the side of her heads. Her voice grows weaker with each word, each plea coming out of her mouth.
Please don't leave me alone. I don't want to be alone right now. I can't shake it off. Everywhere's not safe and...
All right, Isabella. Look at me. Look at me.
My hands are firm on her shoulder when I pull her up to look at me. It takes every force of will to ignore the terror in her eyes in favor of taking control of the situation. Too close, too similar.
Breathe. You're safe here. Inhale, hold, exhale. Stay in the present. I'm here. No one's gonna hurt you. Do you want to talk about it?
The force with which she shakes her head is enough reason to drop the topic altogether.
Please, no more. I don't want to remember anymore.
Okay, no more talking. I won't ask anymore.
Poor Zach.
Can I get you anything? Another glass of water? I think I have a tub of that pistachio ice cream you love so much.
No, not the pistachio!
We're gonna have to clean this mess first. Will you be fine on your own for a little while?
She nods lightly before retreating into herself again. No more words are exchanged after that, and I take that as my cue to start cleaning the shards littering the floor before either one of us get hurt. The quiet hum of the AC is a pleasant distraction as I go over the menial task, more so than her ragged drawls of breath or my little feeble attempts to tell a quick story or two, but the latter does the trick, and soon enough she has already drifted off by the time I return with the promised glass of water, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, the strain on her shoulders gone. Frankly, I've never seen her this still. She mumbles something I don't quite catch when I carry her to the empty bed and hugs herself tighter against the mess of blankets. In spite of the fact that she appears relaxed, the small frown on her face hasn't quite disappeared. Whatever happened to her won't be leaving her anytime soon. But for her sake, I hope it won't stay long with her. There are still questions left to be answered, but at the late hour, coupled with the sudden exhaustion, made my old couch a more comfortable bed than it typically is. A frightened Isabel Santos knocked at Zachary Steele's apartment in the middle of the night. Shaken, she refused to say what happened. Zach let her stay regardless. Darkness immediately welcomes me as soon as my head hits my makeshift pillow. I can only wish the dreams will keep at a distance for now. For both of us. It's now Tuesday. The first few notes, while muffled, are enough to wake me. In the end, it became one of those nights when sleep passes like a blink and is plagued with vague, fuzzy thoughts. I lift a hand to rub away the drowsiness from my eyes, although it does little to relieve the gritty, burning sensation from my eyelids. Outside, the sun has yet to peek over the horizon, but night has already given way to the cool morning light, watching everything in subtle great hues. At this hour, the entire city remains unstirring. Ordinarily, waking up before my own alarm means abusing the snooze button, twice or thrice, just to catch those precious few extra minutes of sleep. But the persistent ringing makes it impossible now.
This better be good.
Groggily, I scramble for the bag sitting at the foot of the bed. The ringing still hasn't stopped even as I fish the phone out, and Ashton's name flashes brightly on the screen when I turn it on. Must be pretty urgent if he hasn't dropped the call
Took you
yet.
long enough, Z-Man.
Ashton, it's 6. 6 in the morning. Sun
I
hasn't even risen. Hell, my brain ain't even awake yet.
know what you mean. It's almost noon and my brain isn't awake yet.
Stop calling me Z-Man.
It's 20 past 6, Zach.
You want to talk? Give me back my 5 extra minutes, Ash. I want my sleep.
Hey, don't make fun of me. I can be a more person too if I want to.
His yawns are
What's
contagious.
this all really about? You don't usually make calls around this hour. Is the world ending today?
Sorry about that. Becca rang me up a few minutes ago looking for Isabella. Said she didn't show up in her own apartment last night. We both tried calling, but her phone seemed... Do you have any idea where...
I should have known you two would come looking for her first thing in the morning.
Not a laughing matter, Zach. You can't really let your guard down with everything that's happened here recently. You've heard about the Cooper woman from the news. Everyone in the precinct has been restless ever since the incident the other day.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Listen, Ash, about Bella.
I let my voice trail off, unsure of how to go about recounting last night, or if I should even say anything to him. He might be a close friend, but at the end of the day, whatever's bothering her ain't mine to speak of in the first place. On the bed, Isabella remains still as when I transferred her the night before. Sometime during her sleep, she pulls a blanket over herself and tucked it in comfortably. Like this, it's easy to forget the horror in her eyes or how much her hands and lips trembled. Save for a firm grip on the edge of the cover, she appears nearly as normal as she would any other day. Almost.
I'm not really sure how to go about this while being...
Zach, what about her?
Something, the worry, the concern must have surfaced in my tone because his own shifts then. Carefully as he's preparing for the worst.
Look, you don't have to worry about her. She's with me right now. Since last night, in fact.
Oh, why didn't you just say so earlier?
She kind of knocked in the middle of the night. I couldn't possibly wake you two over that. And with how things are when she arrived, I thought it'd be best if I let her rest first. I just wasn't expecting people would be looking for her before the rooster even crows.
You could have at least called her something. Becca's beside herself with worry when she found out. You know how much she frets about the smallest stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. That was a lapse on my part. And I just didn't think... Okay, you know what? Rebecca's worries ain't completely baseless. Isabella hasn't been her usual self since the movie. Maybe even before that. I don't know if I should be opening my mouth about this, but... Bella didn't outright say I shouldn't, so...
So something's wrong then?
I'm not quite sure, to be completely honest. I couldn't get the story out of her.
Really? I thought you'd learned something from me by now.
That's not it. Ash, when she appeared at my doorstep last night, she was shaking, and when I tried to ask her about it, she just panicked. Had this frightened look on her face.
Yeah, that's what happens when a ghost tries killing her.
I'd be surprised if this was the first time I've seen it, but it ain't. Dude, the first time, she was screaming.
First time? When was this? You weren't talking about the thing in the movie house, are you? Because that was just us fooling around. Granted, I think I went overboard with the joke, but...
No, it happened the day after. When she invited us to lunch, you weren't there. We were walking one second, and then the next, she's crying out. I'll be straight with you. That scared me shitless.
It bothered him, though, if the way he falls silent after his telling. But whatever his opinion is, stays absent from his voice when he speaks again. He's always been good with that, hiding what he
Did
thinks.
she say anything else?
Nothing. Won't tell me anything aside from a few vague words. I didn't want to push it.
Where is she? Is she still sleeping?
Right here with me, still sleeping. Should I wake her up or something? Let her know you guys are looking for her?
No need. Let her rest. I'll drop by in a few.
Today? Don't you have work at this time? I mean, I can drop her off home myself before meeting my client later.
Look who's talking.
My schedule's flexible, Ash. Last time I checked, you're the one who didn't have that luxury. How on earth do you think I'm able to tag along when you need me?
It's not completely out of the way.
They live on the other side of the town from you, Ash. Your definition of out of the way is a little screwed up, you know.
It's fine. I have some things I need to do anyway. I'll call you back. I've got to let Becca know that Scared Cat's fine. Bye.
He drops the call before I can even get a word in, and for several minutes after I find myself simply listening as the rest of Luxborn rouses. Come morning, Zachary received a phone call from Ashton, who's looking for Isabella. Zach informed him that she stayed over in out of the circumstances. Before ending the call, Ashton offered to pick her up. The increasing sound of passing traffic, the bustle of the nearby shops preparing for the day, and the growing clamor of the people while they go about their morning Not the most soothing sounds to hear following a troubled night, but the routine puts me at ease nevertheless. What's comforting, what's safe, what I'm used to. Nearby, Isabella shifts, but doesn't wake, blissfully unaware as the city slowly stirs itself back to life. Was her night as restless as the one I had? Were her dreams as lucid? In hushed moments like this, I envy her. Unreasonable, probably a little unfair, to say such in the light of last night. If only forgetting is as easy as breathing. A small yawn escapes me when I rise from the couch to stretch. Luckily, the short conversation with Ash has effectively driven away any will to go back to bed. I still have a day to get through despite the proverbial ghost hanging around. The orange bottle sitting at the edge of my table is reassuring against the palm the instant I pick it up. The sterile odor of the capsule is equally so, yet the weight they carry is something I've never quite gotten used to. Years ago, I'd spend minutes, heck even hours, staring at a single pill prior to taking one in. Now it's just routine, a way to stave off the unwanted nightly visits. Although I don't think Dr. Navarro will be quite pleased if he ever finds out I'm relying on them again. I do owe him a visit regardless, especially after missing our appointments on purpose and ignoring his calls for weeks. Another sigh comes out, tired and weary, and then I pop the tablet into my mouth.
Zach? What time is it?
The bottle in my hand hits the table with more force than necessary. As much as I trust my friends, there are some things I'd rather keep to myself.
Morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?
She answers the question with a, "Can you stop with the frickin' yawns?" With a yawn, long drawn-out yawn, one reminiscent of a child. A chuckle manages to come out of my mouth at the sight. I only understand these are contagious. In this manner, it's easy to mistake her for someone too young for responsibilities. Inexperienced and immature even. Easy to forget she was thrust into the role of an adult earlier than her own dreams can afford, to overlook how surprisingly observant she can be at times. Maybe not on the same level Ash exercises for investigations or Rebecca needs for her own work, but it's certainly enough to deftly put what she sees around her on her canvas. And if the way her eyes flickers to the table and my hand says something, it is that I won't be able to avoid the questions this time.
Only a little. I don't remember how I ended up on the bed, though.
My doing. You didn't look very comfortable sleeping on the couch, all hunched up like that.
It would have been enough for something temporary. Sorry I stole your bed.
Hey, it doesn't matter. Besides, what kind of gentleman would I be if I leave a lady sleeping in such uncomfortable conditions? Not in this house. My nana will give me a tough scolding if I ever did that, I'm telling you.
Thanks a lot, Zach. I know I barged in at a very inconvenient time last night. I wasn't really thinking when I did, and...
Hey, it's cool, Bella. I ain't mad at you. That's what friends do. You guys are welcome here anytime, although Ashton abuses the anytime part a lot. I don't really mind. We might have less wiggle room if all four of us are present, considering the size of this place. But as long as no one makes anything explode, it's totally fine.
Fine or not, I still owe you one for last night's trouble, especially since you don't seem to be...
A concerned expression passes over her features as she spares another cursory glance over at the table back to the bottle, holding every small piece of what keeps the bad memories at bay. The blood blooming over Pa's heart, the horrified look on Ma's face as she watches him fall lifeless to the ground, and every ounce of spite seeping from the stranger's smile. You don't belong here. You monkeys don't belong here. It never stops, doesn't it?
Well, you don't seem to be feeling well. Let me know, okay? I'll make it up to you somehow.
She makes a slight gesture with her head towards the bottle, asking a question without really asking. Subtlety has never been one of her greatest assets, but right now, even Ash would have been a little amazed, if not at loss of words at that. She has left it up to me whether I'll ever give her the response she wants to hear or not. A little clever coming from her, if anyone would ask me. But it never easy, ain't it? Talking about my own problems, that is. It will never be. Not by a long shot. Not when I've let it stay this way for so long. I realized that long ago, when the wounds are still fresh and the dreams are a nightly occurrence. Can't force yourself to get better or move on to better things. It is what's normal now, and I can only cope. And the question in her eyes may be unwarranted, born simply out of curiosity and sincere concern for a friend. I don't owe her an explanation, in fact, but of all the people I keep close in my life, she's probably one of the very few perhaps I can trust with this. Maybe she won't understand entirely. I can never hope she will. No, never to the full extent. That alone is expecting too much of her and giving too much of what I can. However, for all her shortcomings, I know she'll hear me out, and that is all I can ask of
My
her.
bad. I'm was kinda hoping you wouldn't have seen me with the...
The pills rattle slightly against the container when I gently set it back to its usual place. Always the small area closest to my laptop, near the right hand, within reach whenever, and a quiet reminder of what I shouldn't miss every day.
What? Oh, is it bad? I was just thinking that maybe it's a cold like Becca's. Do you need me to get anything from the store? Soup or something? There's one nearby, right? I can run real quick and...
No, nothing of that sort. I'm perfectly healthy right now. It's really difficult to say, but... Can you promise me you'll listen at least?
I have ED. I'm sorry. I have to tell you. And these are my pills.
What is this about, Zach?
I should have been upfront with you about this a long time ago. Well, Ashton found out without me telling him anything. But you already know how that guy is. Can't hide anything from him.
If it's something you're having trouble saying, you don't have to force yourself to tell me. I'll forget I ever saw anything and won't ask questions. Promise.
No, I need to get this off my chest eventually. Besides, we're already here. Might as well finish what I started, yeah?
This conversation is so much more awkward than it has to be.
If you say so.
She takes a seat on her couch, her posture easy and open, and her smile honest, and as if this is just a simple talk between two friends on a regular day. It is far from one, but her unreserved air is enough to stamp down on the twinge of unease that threatens to come up.
Let's hear it then.
And she does. True to her word, she listens while the story spills out of my mouth, of my ma and pa, that little old diner across the pond, and what it left in me that day. I can't recall most of it now, my own account jagged with a few missing details here and there. The passing years have eroded most of my recollection of the whole incident. All except for the one moment in the kitchen. The ringing of gunshots are as vivid as it sounded that day. Even Ma's hysterical screams from the moment Pa's body hits the floor motionless, his lifeblood flowing out from under him. And the gunman, he was smiling. He was smiling when Pa opened the door to welcome him. He was smiling when he put a bullet to Pa's chest and Ma's head. I've heard stories of how the world can be a cruel place for people like us before. I've never believed it until that moment.
And Grand took us right after that. Sis and I flew straight to New Jersey as soon as they heard the news. A few days after, Ma and Pa were laid to rest. And we have a new home a continent away. I didn't even get the chance to take my favorite pillow with me. They said something about the change of environment would be good for us. They had no idea the different kind of ghosts would follow me here.
I expected questions, mostly those brimming with childlike curiosity, and maybe some of that are a little too hard to answer. But to her credit, she just sat there, lent her ears, and looked at me with no expectations or unnecessary judgment in her eyes. She appears wiser and older like this, easier to see the breadwinner in her. Her younger siblings are lucky to have her. When I'm done, after everything's been said, she wraps her arms around me. A bit awkward considering our gap in heights, but it gets her sentiment across. But it's difficult to answer this in kind, if I'm even supposed to reciprocate the gesture given my earlier apprehension. She pulls away shortly with a smile on her face, not the reaction I praised myself for, but it obviously is better than what I imagined.
Are you not gonna say anything?
What would she say? Like, oh, I'm glad he killed your parents? What are you expecting her to say? Like, something bad?
Am I supposed to say anything after? Like, apologize or something? I don't think that's very appropriate, but if you want to hear one, I can think of something real quick.
Yeah, I mean, she pretty much just said what I just said.
Not really. Other people have something to say after usually. And they're not necessarily nice either.
What, like they deserved it? Probably, that's what frickin' idiots say.
Oh, okay then. I won't. I can't think of something anyway. Sorry. I'm not very good with this. Who else knows, by the way?
My older sister, grandparents, and just Ash and you for now. Maybe I think I should tell Rebecca too, but...
But not right now?
Yeah, not right now.
I'm sure she'll be willing to hear you out once you do.
I don't doubt she will. I'm more afraid of how she'll react after. One step at a time, yeah? Whew. Surprisingly, it feels good to get that one out my chest. I was a little afraid you'd be angrier. I didn't tell you earlier than today.
I'm not angry. I'm just surprised. You didn't look like it. I wouldn't have suspected.
Didn't look like what? Didn't look like he was terrorized by the death of his parents?
I suppose that's how it often is, isn't it? We all have our... what's the word Becca uses? Inner demons?
I wouldn't necessarily say this is an inner demon.
But this is something personal to you. I understand why you'd rather have a few people know.
That too. Well, these past few weeks haven't been easy for you. I didn't want to add that. Not after last night.
Something passes in her face, brief, fleeting, and disappears right before I can recognize what it is.
Okay.
Yep, no worries. I'll be fine. Look, about last night, never mind. This isn't a good time, but don't lose sleep over this, alright? What's important is you got what you want to say out. And if you need me, I'll be here.
I should be relieved. Her words are more reassuring to my ears. There should be comfort in hearing those alone and knowing I have another person to rely on if things ever go bad. But somehow I find myself worrying more for her instead. I'll make another attempt to get the story out of her if I can. But this is a dance I know all too well, and with her I doubt forcing her to say something would yield any results. As much as I want to imitate Ash, there's only so much I can ask that won't result in something a little over disastrous. At best, she'll stop talking to me until a week passes. At worst, I'd rather not risk it. I've never seen her angry. Outright annoyed, maybe, and often directed at Ash, but never furious. What do they say again about happiest people when angered? And besides, it'd be unfair to her after a little chat.
Food then?
She seems relieved at the brisk change of subject, and as if it's been simply waiting for its cue all this time, her stomach rumbles at the mention of food. Rather loudly, as a matter of fact.
Alrighty, Missy. We're going to get some chow now. Better be quick, though. Can't have your stomach starting a revolution on us here.
Don't make fun of me! I'm not that hungry. Maybe a little. I didn't think I'd end up skipping dinner last night.
And now we have one starved stomach protesting. Sorry, it'll be nothing fancy, since I'm a little low on stocks. I should probably drop by the grocery store after the meeting this afternoon.
I can make a quick run for you if you want.
Nah, I've got enough to put together something nice here. Maybe. I could always improvise if we're missing an ingredient or two. It ain't like we're going for a Michelin 3-star status here. Also, didn't I say you're a guest? Is this a Filipino thing? Or just Rebecca rubbing off on you?
The soft laughter that comes from her doesn't quite reach her eyes. Neither. The answer is neither. Because if she stays idle, she'll remember.
On second thought, I might need a little help slicing up the potatoes while I prep the ham. You up for that?
What? Do you think instant noodles are all I'm about? I'll have you know, I can cook a mean paella with my eyes closed. All my siblings love it.
Sure you can. Come on. I think I know what we'll do with those spare ingredients.
Despite the massive effort to keep the mood light with so much chowder, cooking ends up being mostly a quiet affair. Isabella saw Zach taking an unknown medicine and concerned asked what it's for. He admitted he's suffering from a trauma ever since his parents were killed in a hate crime. Isabella could only offer him a comforting hug. To lighten the mood, the two decide to cook breakfast afterwards. Just a few thoughts on that scene back there, where he discusses and tells Isabella his past. It almost seems like he was ashamed of what happened in his past, and if it's something he was embarrassed to talk about. And I don't see why that's the case, or why that should be the case, and it sucks if that's the case, if that's how he was feeling. He shouldn't feel like that. He should feel upset and angry that somebody would do that for that reason. Somebody would not only kill his parents, but just for the fact that they were of a different origin. I mean, that's just horrible. And to be expecting reactions of negativity when he shares that story, to be expecting backlash from the people he confides in, he must be really living a life of fear, which really does suck a lot. Between us, the consistent clapping of the knife against the board and the muffled noise from the television I left running, words have become surprisingly difficult to string together. Not entirely unusual, we've had moments like this before, but definitely unnerving with how things are now. I really wish someone else will come knocking at the door. As pleasant as this is, breaking the ice or keeping conversation going has never been in my forte. That has always been Isabella's or Rebecca's department. Sometimes Ash's, although most coming from him border on awkward or embarrassing. Speaking of the guy, he never did call back, and I'm willing to bet my entire yearly salary that he fell right back to sleep after that call. Dots.
Sorry, Bella. Could you...
Yep, I got it. The potatoes are almost ready, by the way. I turned down the heat just in case. You might want to check on them, though. Hold on! I'll be right there! Sheesh! Wait up! If you keep rapping at the door like that, you'll break it down. Ash!
Oh, good. You're awake.
Ash has already welcomed himself in when I take my eyes away from the oven. He's never really been keen with the notion of courtesies after he's warmed up to you, this guy. After all 13 of my logs, he broke and attested that. He's a good fellow, though. Maybe a tad bit standoffish at first glance, but he's
Don't you
trustworthy.
have work today?
I could ask the same of you. Hey, Z-Man.
You're late. Something came up? You need to drop the Z-Man. It's getting old.
Sorry. I got caught up with something at the precinct on the way here. Had to attend to that first before things got out of hand. I'd tell you about it, but you know how it can be with those kinds of things. Later, maybe.
And you're here because...
What? I'm not allowed to say hello?
I doubt you're here because of that. And you're not answering my question.
Ah, my bad. Forgot to mention that. He called earlier looking for you. Rebecca's worried because you didn't come home last night.
You could have called my cell instead.
You weren't picking up. Anyway, I'd really hate to cut this little get-together short, but I need to be somewhere else. Come on, Isabella, let's get you home. I'll drop you off on the way.
Wait, we're going now?
He lightly claps a hand on her arm and begins ushering her out of the apartment, throwing a casual wave at me as they pass. Isabella, on the other hand, doesn't appear too fond of the idea, and sure enough, before they can even cross the threshold, she puts a firm foot down, the force enough to halt them both and catch the taller man off guard. It would have made for a funny picture. The way Ash almost crashes into her, and Isabel giving him an indignant pout over his shoulder. Surprise and confusion are in his face all at once, two things that rarely ever grace it if he can help it. A rare moment even for a small group. Only if I have my camera with me. Dang.
What is it?
Zach cooked something.
If it's just food, I'll get you something on the way back.
But the food! It's Zach's cooking. Real delicious food that actually tastes like food. At least stay and have a bite. Please, Zach, help me here.
These two. Whenever they're in the same room, sometimes it feels like hurting a group of unruly kids instead of talking to two mature adults. One moment they're engaged in a pleasant chit-chat, and the next they're bickering over a minor issue. Frankly, if I didn't know any better and have an overactive imagination, I'd say there's something going on. Never mind how utterly impossible that idea is. Or it might be me reading too much into things like always. No, you're definitely not reading into it too much. I think you're on the right path. I can already hear off Ash's laughter if I so much as suggest as such. No, he'll probably turn red and start stuttering. This, however...
I don't know about you two, but I think you guys should really stay. I've already made enough food for all of us, and it'd be a waste. Why, I cooked up that special honey-glazed ham you two keep on yapping about. Got some scalloped potatoes with onions and cheddar to go with it, too.
The oven timer tings. I shoot the two of them an apologetic look before sauntering over to the kitchen, mittens in hand. The sweet smell of the glaze and the salty tang of melted cheese wafts through the air as soon as I open the door and take out the two trays inside. The scent immediately fills the entire room, and even with the door and windows open, the mouth-watering aroma lingers. It's appealing enough that when I put the dishes down on the counter, another starved stomach protests loudly, followed by a burst of laughter. My head snaps at the two of them, and I can't help but keep back the smile as the sight they make. Isabel is clinging to the doorframe for support, doubled over with breathless laughter. Ash is the more composed of the two, trying to look unconcerned, but a flush has crept off his neck and cheeks. It's clear whose stomach that came from, and Isabel is not going to let him live this down.
You're in no place to reject an offer of free food, Frey.
I wasn't rejecting anything. Damn it, I just missed a meal, that's all.
Aw, he's flustered.
Shut it! Those guys at the precinct said it was urgent. Somebody has to be...
Well, aren't you precious?
Right. You know, if you keep laughing like that, you'll burst.
I'm sure it won't be as bad as your stomach suddenly rumbling like a star.
Aye, kiddos, play nice. Food's gonna get cold if we keep this up. Ash, you gonna stay?
Might as well, since Scaredy Cat's so hell-bent on staying.
Awesome picture. We eventually settle down after the food has been served, the jibes replaced by another round of friendly chatter, mostly about what's on the news the night before. There is, however, a conscious effort to avoid mentioning what's currently on the headlines. The dead is never a good topic to talk about over food in polite company, this case in particular. The wounds are too fresh, too soon. I'd likely avoid it as well if I were in her position, and someone I personally knew passed away in a gruesome manner like that. Though perhaps the closest we got to broaching the topic is when the infamous mansion is brought up again. But even then, we are careful, Ash and I. We keep the conversation light and avoid bringing up her late business partner. It's the least we could do.
Yeah, they're planning to move in soon. In fact, they already have a housewarming party planned. It's why they wanted us to rush the papers. They wanted to send the invitations out as soon as possible.
Oh, now I get it.
Get what?
Remember what I told you last night about the new clients?
Vaguely? Sorry. I was a little out of it yesterday. Was it the photo shoot?
Yep, it's actually for the one you sold. something. When you put it that way, I suppose it makes sense why my boss wants me to prioritize the couple. They can have those documents rushed at just the snap of their fingers. And they're more influential than I initially thought. And I guess my boss is expecting a lot more from this project than I expected.
Your photographs are more than good enough, Zach. You'd probably win an international award if you let yourself. Ma'am Hana's easy to please, too. As long as you're good at following instructions.
Easier said than done. Different clients have different tastes after all.
Still, a week? I don't think that's possible.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah. They wanted everything finished at the earliest. To be honest, it's not unheard of, but...
But it's still weird. Still weird, yeah?
A slip of the tongue. Still barely noticeable to someone who's already familiar with Ash's ways, yet in this moment it's impossible to miss. I shoot him a curious glance, but he ignores it, rather pointedly.
I can't exactly say it's like that, where I'm just the middleman after all. As much as I want to comment on it, I only know what's on the surface, not the in and outs. It's just that BRC and my boss are more hands-on with the legal stuff this time, despite having a separate department dedicated to it.
Maybe Mr. Wright helped with it too. They have their own legal team for this, don't they?
Well, they should have one. Especially for a big property like this.
They have, but like I said, it's off our hands. Rose and I don't handle this stuff in the office. If anything, to me, this just means I'll be able to send the rest of the funds to Papa's treatment earlier.
I guess that makes a whole lot of sense. Officially off our instant noodle diet, aren't we?
Ash, has anyone ever told you that you have an uncanny way of ruining the mood?
What? I was just saying. A few more months of stuffing your face with those, and I'm sure you'll start to look like a noodle cup. That's a pretty picture.
At least I don't live off convenience store food. Or make poor, unassuming pressure cookers explode.
What? How did you... Oh, come on, Zach.
Sorry, it just came up while we were cooking earlier.
I'm impressed, Ashton Frey. You even made it to the news.
A one-time thing. And it wasn't as big as you seem to be imagining.
Oh, sure. Let's all pretend that one time you almost set my apartment on fire didn't happen too.
Hey, that was an accident.
You were making a salad, Ash.
Can we please move on to a different topic?
It helps, the casual talk, the harmless teasing, the mundane stories interesting enough to let the time pass unnoticed. By the time lunch ends, the shadows are no longer at the forefront of my mind. Wasn't it just, like, morning? Like, it's already lunch? Oh well. If it's the same for Isabella, for what troubles her, I can never tell. These things, the anxiety, the fear, they ain't easily seen, ain't easily forgotten after all.
You go on ahead. I've got a few things I need to ask Zach. I'll be downstairs in a minute.
Confusion briefly flashes in her eyes as she catches the keys as he tosses over. But he doesn't give her an answer and waits for her to go ahead.
How sure are you I won't be driving away with your Shirley?
You don't even have a license. Do you even know how to?
Papa taught me how. I'm probably a better driver than you. See you later, Zach. Thanks for the food.
Always has to have the last word, don't you?
You're welcome. I'll send you the recipe for the potatoes tonight.
A grin is back on her face when she leaves and closes the door behind her. For a little while after we're alone, Ash goes wholly quiet, listening, waiting for remaining footsteps in the hall to fade. The earlier amusement is gone from his face, replaced by what I can only describe as trepidation. I know that look all too well. When he's like this, he's expecting shit to go down at some point soon.
That wasn't very nice, Ash. What was that with Isabella earlier? You're usually subtler with your questions.
They hired you.
Hired me who? Don't change the subject yet. What's really going on here?
The Wrights. Luke and Hana Wright. You said your next gig is with them.
Is that what this is all about?
Just be careful around them. You have no idea what you're dealing with when it comes to that couple. I'd rather you stay as far away from them as possible, but you're already here. Isabella's their real estate agent. Seriously, of all the people in Luxburn.
Okay. I guess I'll just have to take your word for it.
He nods, claps a comforting hand on my back, and turns to leave without another word. He's never been good with those. More often, he fumbles with what he wants to say, but his actions alone are enough to tell me how grateful he is for the trust. He reaches for the knob as soon as he gets to the door, but doesn't turn it. Instead, he looks back and gestures with his head towards the table. I don't need to follow his line of sight to know what he's going on about. He's likely taken notice the moment he entered the room.
You back on those? I haven't seen you taking them in a year.
Yeah, I kinda had to. It got worse after the film fest. The dreams, that is. I don't think I'll be doing that again anytime soon.
Heard about that. Don't drop it, though. You don't want Becca scolding you. She actually enjoyed the movie you made, and she's hard to please. Consider that a small victory.
You don't have to tell me. She already did. Rebecca and Bella both gave me an earful after I said the opposite. Promised them I wouldn't, but you can never tell. Hopefully, once I feel better, I'll be able to think about it properly. Speaking of Bella, she didn't open up to me, but maybe with you and Rebecca.
Yeah, I'll try. I can't promise anything, but I'll talk to her.
Thanks. That's all I'm asking.
This time, when he reaches for the door, he lets it close fully behind him without glancing back. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind him, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. A low note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ashton arrived to fetch Isabella hours later, but she didn't want to leave after all the food they prepared. In the end, Ashton acquiesced and stayed. The rights and Zach's upcoming gig were few topics touched during their talk over breakfast. Ermengarde Mansion, H. Wright, 11 a.m. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meaning now. It's now Thursday. The next 2 days rush by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up, and new expected acquaintances or friends. Depends on how you look at it recently. I think... yeah, we've seen this. We saw this in Zach's death route. We're gonna skip through this. And we're gonna show the photo to, I think we're gonna show it to Ash. I don't know. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna see. Since this is a good route, I wanna have the best possible affection with people. Showing it to Ash doesn't do anything yet. But we'll show it to Ash. I don't want to freak out Hannah. I can already hear what he's going to say about it the moment I bring it up. Hell, before he even sees anything, I'll wager. Guy is a skeptic through and through, and it'll take more than my account for him to even consider this. But when you've been there, seen something to raise enough hairs at the back of your neck and leave you wanting to flee or hide, what do you think is the least of my concerns? Skipping through more. While Luxborn is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people inside waiting from the lobby welcome me. Officers can be occasionally seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod.
Not even for...
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved.
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the fourth one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me as first as he soon enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls out his own mobile, wordlessly fiddling for a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any annoyance in it when he glances up, though, only mild exasperation, what might be a hint of amusement.
Stop taking pointers from Isabella. This is gonna get old soon.
At least use your phone properly.
It's an alarm clock, a good note-taking device, a halfway decent camera, and maybe a music player too. If I'm being nice. What else do I need it for?
Communication?
I don't know, keeping in contact maybe?
When he merely shrugs, I know I struck a chord. He's far from holding a piece of technology in contempt, of course. Ash has always been nothing but practical from the start, and technology is useful, only when he gets too focused on one thing like a case he's handling, he tends to forget there are other things around him. A little reminder and a nudge in the right direction can get him a long way.
I got an email on that social media site the girls roped us into joining.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, you've got an account before any of us had one.
For policing purposes? Anyway, why are you here? I thought you have something scheduled today. Or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. Look, about that. There's something I want you to see.
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards the very erect receptionist when I raise an eyebrow and
Over
question.
lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table in an apologetic style. We saw this already in his death route.
You're
Just
having
giving
cake
Castle
for
a-
lunch?
This is a little different, though. He shrugs and then proceeds to dig in without even a hint of remorse. Frankly, it's like seeing a child get his Christmas present
Don't
early.
tell Becca. I'll get an earful. It's just for today.
You should listen to her, though. The kind of work you do, you'll need to eat something other than sweets. I don't want to see you drop dead in front of my apartment again.
I told you, just this once. Have you been hanging out with Becca lately? You're beginning to sound like her.
Nah, just for some recipes. But she has the right to worry, you know? It's like she's taking care of two kids. One bitches on sweets, while the other on cup noodles. At least Bella knows how to cook.
Hey, I can at least boil something. Wait, that's easy, right? I mean, you just put water in and...
No, don't even think about it. You destroyed your own kitchen once by sticking a pressure cooker on it. I think my sister is a whole lot better than you. And this is coming from someone who has no other choice but to eat her cooking for some time.
To be fair, he generally appears offended at the last remark. Hate will be too strong a word to describe how Sis and him usually interact when they're in the same room. Though, whatever appropriate word it is, I can say with most certainty that the feeling's mutual for both. Ash thinks she nags too much, while Sis thinks he's a trouble magnet I should stay away from. They're both technically right on their
How's your
assessments.
sister, by the way? Still bullying white guys?
What should I say? How about we don't say you're the one that started it?
You do know she's married to one now.
I hope she doesn't end up poisoning him with her cooking.
Pot calling the kettle black?
She can't be better than me.
Actually, she is now. They're planning to start a restaurant sometime in the future.
I was bedridden for days after eating some of the stuff she whipped up. And now you're letting her cook for other people?
Don't exaggerate. It was just for one day, and you're the one who refused to leave your apartment. You should come by, though. Sis gave birth a few days ago. Girl, I've only seen the pictures. But I might visit sometime after everything's settled down. Too many backlogs to go through for now.
No way in hell. She'll just find last time it was Shirley.
He makes a show of being utterly mortified, though I'm quite curious he doesn't mean any of that. He might not say it straight out, but I'm pretty sure he's enjoying the small visits whenever he can. Something about it reminds him of his own family, sort of like making up for the one he never got back after his parents separated. Sore spot, that one topic, one thing he never ever brings up in any conversation, if he can help it, and I've never seen the need to be nosy. There are some wounds you're just not meant to open, and for the both of us, the sentiment goes the same
As
way.
if you ain't already on a shit list. You're just afraid of her.
In your dreams, but I'll think about it. Can't just drop this thing at the moment.
His change in tone is subtle, but his aggravation of the matter hangs completely palpable in there.
Still no closer?
The opposite, actually. There's been some slip-ups here and there. Careless mistakes, and let's just say I'm waiting for him to make another one. What about you? How are things on your end?
All piled up on top of the other. But I can manage. Still recovering from the expenses for the movie, so the surge in new projects helps. Well, there's this one thing.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all reprints of the same thing. Miss Wright's distorted head on the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The fur on his brow doesn't even ease as he gathers all of it into one pile, sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hana, right?
Yeah, how did you...
The locket. Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he will likely have dug up every imaginable dirt on them, including
Are you
family
done with
history.
your work with them?
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature from a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in into breath, reaches up his nose and pinches it, like the action alone will help him grant all the patience of the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you.
You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with the wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this, and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hana.
He blinks at that, and his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hana? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level with the accusation, and it is clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than that tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but it's really just a gig. Patience can be a tough thing to be summoned at times. But we didn't get as far as friends if we let our own tempers become the lord of us.
Bro, it's really just another freelance work.
He eyes me skeptically, the same stare he reserves for people he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before, earlier in our friendship. Years later, he's already got the unimpressed police look down
Hey,
pat.
there's nothing going on with me and Miss Hana. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. The just-in-case elephant in the room scenario, aight? She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
I know you don't, but keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise she'll get off scot-free if she's involved. Man, with how you're acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
Alright, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes the better half of our lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Mash merely nods, takes out his phone, and excuses himself off to a far corner of the cafe for some privacy, if you can even afford to have such a thing in place of public as this. Where are we at? Alright. I think we've seen
I
this.
can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this. He's at the public library.
Oh, no.
Go on.
Skipping
I can't.
past. This is the talk with Professor Andrew here. Andrew Clark. And now I can actually skip through without telling me that I haven't seen these. We've seen this too. Seen this. Seen this. Seen this. Seen this. Seen this with Kylie. Skipping past. Evil Kylie look. Oh, okay. New text.
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Only after you broke the 13th one. I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment. And stop calling me Z-Man!
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to. Hey, is that my...
Bag of chips? Ash smirks at me because of course he has the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in when it's very likely the last piece of chip into his mouth and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it on the nearby trash. From her chair, Isabella shoots me an apologetic smile as soon as the foil hits the waistband with a dull thunk. Common sense dictates that I should be angry, but after everything, having something normal play out in front of me, no matter how childish their intakes can be, I can't bring myself to muster even a tidbit of it. Behind me, the television starts blaring the music for the end credits of a movie. They have likely been waiting for a while if Ash has gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch something.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend. Did you at least share some with Bella?
Don't worry about it. I'm good.
Really? It's free food, you know? What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
No, I'm just not hungry.
Ash only shrugs at the question in my eyes. I can't be the only one who finds the vibe she's giving out to be odd, and the guy has no doubt already caught wind of it.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so.
Aye.
I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do. Just say the word.
Thanks, Zach. Maybe next time. Food is not really what we came here for. Ash, he's the one who...
She casts a brief glance at Zach, or at Ash, and in an instant he sits up. Every trace of amusement is gone from his face as he claps his hand in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story altogether.
All right, you two, what's this about? I don't like those looks. What I said was weird, I'm aware, but I'm not taking it back. Isabella's not the only one here who's seen it.
A short but tense pause follows. They're both stalling. Under normal circumstances, I'd wait. With these two, the more you force it, the more they'll clamp down on it. But as a handful of seconds continue to slip by, the unseating, settling feeling in me also grows with it. Soon, it turns into impatience. Before I can demand a response, though, one of them finally speaks up.
I'm not asking you to. No, you're right. There really are some odd things going on here lately.
How is everything with you lately, Zach?
Hold on, Ash. Both of you. Did I just hear you say that? Is this why Isabella's here? Has something happened?
Calm down, we're just here to check on things. So, did you meet Andrew about the photos?
What photographs?
Said photographs have been sitting untouched since the day I dumped them in the drawer. Isabella goes very still when I hand her the small stack. To her credit, she does not flinch like I'm expecting her to, and flips through each of them in silence. But while her eyes remain strangely calm, her hands have gone rigid and her mouth is set into a thin line. She, out of all people, understands what this means. In hindsight, she should have been the one I approached before Ash.
What did Andrew say about them?
It could be one, but there's no guarantee it's a supernatural thing. It doesn't always happen, so that's a dead end right there. Now that I think about it, bothering that guy for this feels pretty silly now. But with the dreams lately...
That's all? Did he say anything about the damn letter at all? Did you ask him even?
I pause, glancing at him skeptically. I don't know where this sudden curiosity is coming from, but if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical, Ashton takes interest in this, something or someone must have fucked it up somewhere. Or the world is ending. Seconds pass. The apocalypse I'm expecting to go along with it doesn't arrive, however.
That's really everything. The letter kind of slipped my mind. The photo... There was some stuff about the local horror stories, though. Talked about the curses, and he was really fascinated with the story about a wraith asking for a sacrifice to move on. Kinda nasty if you ask me. But it does make sense if you simply go along with it. I'm not sure how this will help in the grand scheme of things. Why are you asking about this anyway?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zach. It may have something to do with... I may have...
Wait. Stop right there for a sec, Bella. I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one.
You didn't say you were taken off your case.
I just got the news this morning. Apparently the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
Are you sure we should even be doing this?
Doing what exactly?
There's someplace we'll visit after this.
Too vague for comfort, Ash. Please don't tell me you're bringing her with you.
His affirmation comes in the form of a stare, but that alone says all I need to know. What I pointed out gives him a pause, though, and his voice is thick with hesitation when he addresses Isabella.
You know what? Zach's right, Isabella. You don't have to come with me.
It's not myself I'm worried about. It's you. I'll just do this myself, if it'll get you into more trouble with your superiors. At least I can make up an excuse why I need to be there.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not walking in there without me. Besides, I think it's a little too late to back out now. Have you two seen the news this morning?
I haven't, actually. Mama called, and I was busy.
The change in the air around her, while small, can not have gone unnoticed, and it takes every willpower not to ask. Probably the only thing reigning in my curiosity is the fact that Ash himself hasn't brought it up either.
No problem. It should be in the afternoon news as well.
He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels until he gets a news report about another guy who's been found dead in the earlier hours of the morning today. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread, and whatever damage has been contained within the place the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Another murder, the authorities claimed. Isabella and I knew better. None of us shifts even after the report ends, but the room has suddenly felt stifling. Ashton's eyes have gone hooded with what appears to be restrained anger, and the remote in his hand creaks mildly under his grip. The stone is back in my stomach, a tiny little thing gripping at my insides, growing with every passing second as the dread sinks in. In the thick of it, Isabella's voice is the one that breaks the hush. A small, weak thing on its own that wavers unevenly between words, but every syllable heavy with meaning.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
When it fades, all that's left in the air is doubt and fear, while all we can do is cope. Is there something I can say to make her feel better?
It ain't too late. We could still fix this. There's 3 of us here. 4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this.
She lifts her gaze at me, eyes steady, and her shoulders squared as she holds it against the baffled look I give her. Although in the next second it immediately softens and takes me by surprise nevertheless. In those brief moments, it's like I faced a different
I
person.
don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Still in all, that's 2 extra heads who can do the thinking. Between us 3, I'm sure we'll figure something out pretty soon.
Don't make this whole thing sound like it's a piece of cake to deal with.
It ain't. But better than sitting around, yeah? Plan is still a plan.
You're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day with that kind of thinking. We don't even know who's doing this. The last 2 murders might just be similar incidents done by 2 different suspects.
Hasn't stopped you from going after them before. Remember that time when you...
Okay, stop right there. There will be no retelling of that incident today, Z, or ever.
Keep calling me Z-Man and maybe I will.
Suddenly, Isabella laughs. Though muffled by her hands, it rings light and easy against the thick tension in the room. Still a far cry from the usual cheer she carries, but brings a welcome shift in the otherwise dreary mood.
Thanks, you two.
I'll tell you about it when he's not around.
Give it up, Z-Man. She's not interested.
Who says I'm not?
Ash makes a face but chuckles at the jest despite
Why am I even
himself.
friends with you two?
And like this, most of our worries ebb away even if for a few moments. They take their leave mere minutes close to sundown, but regardless of the lighter mood, little has been said of their plans, only vague hints of what they're aiming to do after. While it ain't any of my business, and no, something about this whole thing still gnaws at me. A tiny passing thought urges me to do something as well. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. Little of the bustle matters to them as a step out of the crowded walkway ever. We've seen this. Oh,
Don't answer that. I don't want to hear
We
it,
haven't
you
seen
huge
this yet.
dork.
Says the person who gave her stuffed toys names. Batcat? Really?
It's cute. Yours is just weird. I'll see you later, Zach.
she spares me another smile and I watch her walk off. Only now did it occur to me that none of this she gave today ever did reach her eyes. I make a grab for the back of Ash's parka. He staggers briefly before correcting himself and shooting me a confused
Is she
stare.
alright?
What? Who's okay?
Isabella. She's been, I don't know, out of it today? Did something happen earlier?
The scowl on his face says it
She's
all.
actually been like that this morning. I'll ask, but
Just do me a favor and watch over her. We have no idea what we're dealing with. I don't know what happened to her since the last time I saw her, but from how she's been doing today, whatever it is, seems like a pretty big deal. Wait, you didn't annoy her again, did you? Because I swear to God, if you did, you've got another thing coming for you.
what? No. Why would I? Just so you know, I already apologized for the one at the movie house. Granted, she deserved more of an apology, but I meant it that time.
I'm just asking. I'll take your word for it. But if you can find out what's bothering her, that'd be nice. Honestly, I don't think it's the letter this time.
I'll see what I can do.
Make sure you keep yourself out of harm's way, alright?
Yeah, you too. Don't do anything reckless again.
Reckless, no. But I can't make you to promise I won't do anything. After seeing that, there's no way in hell I'm going to pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one. And I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
He's about to argue for a moment,
Look,
but
bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, alright? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, you'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want, but please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I've got no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, although his mouth presses into a thin line, he
All
nods.
right. Stay safe, Zach.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I like to think the tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest we can get to optimism in this situation. Upon returning to his apartment, Zach was greeted by Ashton and Isabella. Now suspicious of what was happening, Ashton informed Zach that he and Isabella will try to get to the bottom of this. He also warned Zach to be careful. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. It's now the morning. Oh, we've seen this. Definitely seen this. We're skipping that. And we've seen this. Alright, so we have the crying in the window. Last time we entered the window, and you know what happened then. We're gonna not enter the window this time. We're gonna keep looking for Ash and not kill ourselves. In the end, the rational part of my brain wins out, the half that has spent too much time around Ash. It's right, though, the reasonable part. If I do force my way in and find something unpleasant, how am I gonna fight back? With my camera? No matter where you look at it, that's simply asking for a painful
I have
death.
a better chance if I find Ash. What is he snooping about?
Perhaps I should try the forest, make a round farther into the gardens. Not a sound plan, but it's better than nothing. The woman's soft sobs have subsided by now, by some means. Almost inaudible, to the point where I'm wondering if I truly heard what I heard. I didn't get to dwell much on it, though, because right in that moment, my phone rings, the sharp notes cutting, piercing through the thick quietude. I clamp a hand over it, pressing the button before the speakers are close to my ear.
Where are you?
I only caught the tail end of it, the person's greeting on the other side, but I know the voice well
What was
enough.
that, Ash? Could you repeat that?
Shit. What did I do? Okay.
Signal shitty here.
I asked, where are you? Hell, Zach, I've been calling your number for a good 20 minutes now. What kind of shithole did you get into?
Good morning to you, too. I should be asking you that question. I've been looking all over the mansion for you. I thought you'd be...
What mansion?
Do I really need to answer that?
Why are you even... No, wait. Just get your ass here at Isabella's place, and hurry.
I shift my gaze into the mansion, specifically at the window where I heard the cries from. There's nothing of it now, not even
How
echoes.
urgent is...
Pressing enough for you to stop asking questions and get yourself here. Please, Zach.
That gives me a pause. It's a rare thing for him to take on that
I'll be there in
note.
a few. An hour or two, tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
I rush back to my bike as soon as the call ends. Terrified Zach went looking for Ashton in the Ermengarde mansion, but to no avail. He also tried to warn Luke Wright about the spirits supposedly living in the house, but was simply turned away. As he was about to give up, he received an urgent call from Ashton, ordering him to head straight for the Salem Well residences. Without another look, I leave the mansion along with its haunting melodies and grim echoes behind. There are more important things than my own curiosity and impulses. And that is the end of Chapter 3, Zach's Path, and that was Zach's good run. Zach is alive, and things are going smoothly. When we pick up next time, we will be heading on to Marianne's good run, and we'll keep her alive rather than having her stab her throat out. Thanks for coming out, thanks for joining me, if you're here for the stream, and if you're here on my YouTube channel, thanks for watching, and feel free to check out my other playlists, my Death Run playlist that's completed, and the beginning other few videos of the Good Run playlist. And if you like, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment. And if you have anything to ask me or want to see anything, make sure you comment and tell me. I read everything. So again, thanks guys and gals. My name is Eclepid, and I'm out. Peace.